That was a report that actually examined what opportunities are actually inherent in pension funds. The contribution so far is over 4 trillion naira. Experts have actually called for the investment of these funds in the economy. Let's now begin our conversation on that note. As we bring in Ayo Alidare, he is the head of special project at Cowry Assets Management Limited. Thank you, Ayo, for coming on the program. Now, before we take a look at the market performance for the week, let's delve into the issue of the pension fund assets regulation and investment in the capital market. What's your take on the fact that there's a draft guideline calling for an increase in the amount that can be invested in the market?
Yeah, I think the proposed 5% increase is even small. We should be looking at 40% of their investable funds to be invested.
That's 10% more?
Yes, because the Nigerian capital market, offers high yield on investment. We know that the global market, the global economy, the falling oil price, has a kind of effect on the Nigerian capital market, especially the stock market. We've seen a lot of exits in our bond market. The foreign guys are, selling off our Euro bonds. But for the equities market, there are still some stocks that are trading below their intrinsic value. So there are opportunities. But I know the current political climate, has not really helped matters. So, but we should be looking at 40% on the long run. The pension fund assets will keep growing and growing each year. So there should be avenues by which they can invest. They shouldn't just be looking at the fixed income market. But I know most of them are playing safe. So it's a good one, 5% increase. That should easily scale the other.
Some people say that perhaps part of the money should be used for infrastructure development. However, there is some kind of concern in that regard in terms of the fact that can there be a guarantee? Like one of the traders was saying that will the federal government agree to guarantee such investment if that decision is taken, knowing the environment that we operate in the country?
I know they can guarantee it, except the project. It depends on the model. If the model factors in that money is going to come from somewhere. But we know most of this infrastructure are kind of social services to the people. If it is water, how much are you going to levy on water? If it is, you're going to put in money to produce power, we know you can't really get much from power. So if it is a expressway, yeah, you can toll.
It was a short-term project.
Short-term.
If you say power is more of a long-term
Most of them are long-term investments. So, except the government is going to raise another sort of bond to finance. We've raised local contractor bonds, so they can raise a contractor bond to pay back, as a sort of guarantee,
for that investment.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look at the market. We saw some improved performance at the end of the week. The index was actually up higher than the 2.54% that was recorded in the previous week. We had it at over 3% gain. What do you think happened in the market?
Oh, basically, the results of the banks, 2 of the top 5 banks released their result during the week. So that expectedly, increased confidence, and they were very good results. I can't remember a day which the market traded and gained 2.5% as it did yesterday. I think that's the single highest gain in the last 2 to 3 weeks. So, like I said, if the bank sneezes, the market catches cold. So if the banks are doing well, the market will do well because they control about 40 to 50% or even more of the market, equities market. So the results of
in terms of volume.
In terms of volume.
But in terms of value, they do not.
Dangote is there and all that. So but that is the most active subsector of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. I particularly like Zenith result, and the dividend yield is higher when you compare it to Guaranty Trust Bank. The gross earnings is also higher, but the investors' perception about GTB is quite high. That's why the price has always traded higher than the other banking stocks. Yeah.
Okay, if we look at the numbers, because we're talking about the earnings now, let's look at Zenith. Zenith's revenue was at 403.3 billion, higher than the 351.4 billion naira in 2013. The profit after tax was 99.45 billion on the year under review, and it's actually still higher than 95.3 billion in 2013. What do you think happened? Because I know that the banking sector was in the eye of the storm for 2014. The regulations from the central bank, we saw a fall in profit for some of them. The economy, the macroeconomy impacted on some of them because of the fact that oil prices dwindled during the year. But what do you think happened to make these banks to survive, I would say survive, despite the challenges that they had in the year?
I think basically most of them grew their deposit base, and also conversely, they also grew their loan books, and they were able to do more business. I know GTB advanced over 1 trillion of their deposit, on loans. So they grew their loan books, and okay, I was looking at the operational cost of Zenith. It's quite lower than that of GTB. So some of the banks are now managing their costs in terms of the operation. So that's as able to, conserve their earnings. So that's what they did. They mobilized their deposit and they grew their loan books. And then that translated into the bottom lines. And
also to know that many of them have very low or non-existent, non-performing loans. I think that to some extent helped them to record some kind of good numbers for the year.
Yes, but we may not see that in the incoming week or before the end of the month. A lot of them are still going to release results. I know some banks are heavily exposed to the power sector.
Or even the downstream oil sector.
Yeah, but a lot in the power sector. Okay. Because, the federal government just privatized the PHC, and they just sold the generating plants, about 6 of them. And I know some of our banks, our major banks, actually financed the acquisition of these power plants. So some of them are still exposed to that power sector. And so all the results may not be as juicy as that of Zenith and GTB. So, but we should watch out. But going by this, I know a lot of investors will key into the market because expecting similar results. We're going to get some result next week, or in 2 weeks or 3 weeks' time. Yeah.
Okay, let's look at GT Bank's earnings as well. Of course, you said that Zenith Bank did something. The operational cost was lower than Guaranty Trust Bank. We saw the revenue for Guaranty Trust Bank, 278.5 billion, higher than 242.6 billion. We have the profit after tax also higher for Guaranty Trust Bank. We have the dividend paid, 1.50 naira. But if you look at the operation of the banks, I'm just thinking that what did Zenith Bank do differently? How was it able to manage the cost? Can we attribute this to the various cashless policies, for instance? One of the ways that it's going to help the banks to manage how it handles cash, because I know that banks do complain that the cost of cash handling is quite high. Can we link that to these numbers?
Not really. I know the management would have their strategy, which may not be disclosed.
Which could be different from the other bank.
Yeah, very, very different. So, but I know Zenith is very strong on internet banking. They are very strong online and on these mobile platforms. Okay. And they've deployed technologies into their platform. But we may not know the exact strategies that they're using to cut their operational expenses, So, but I know these top 2 banks, I would call them, they belong to the top 3, because there's a third one which we're expecting the result. But there's a sort of rivalry. So, but we'll know the one, for me, the one that performs well will be translates to the bottom line, and the per share data, the earnings per share, the dividend per share, because eventually this is what the investors, will take home. So that is very crucial. Their per share data is very crucial.
Okay, and are we expecting to see more post-market based on this development? Of course, more banks are expected to post the earnings as well.
Yeah.
And the larger markets, it seems that the banking sector is actually affecting other markets, other sectors rather, positively. So are we going to see that happen during the week?
Yes, investors will still react to the shares of GTB and Zenith. Short-term investors, I would advise short-term investors to take profit at the end of the week. Zenith, for
At the end of next week, you mean?
At the end of next week.
Okay.
Zenith, for instance, rallied 19% this week alone. So transaction cost, buy and sell, it's not up to 4%. They're about 4%, thereabout. So if you've made 20% in 1 week, 2 weeks, why not sell off? Except you have a long-term motive, But I see speculators taking profit next week, from some of these banking stocks. And some will also begin to key into some of the big banks that have not released results, the likes of First Bank, Access, So, but some may be disappointed, some may not be disappointed if the result turns out well. But, we expect investors to start keying into the top banks in Nigeria.
Okay, so far the year-to-date loss has dropped by 0.3% to 10.41%. How do you think this was achieved?
Oh, chiefly banks. If you look at the year-to-date performance of all the sectors, currently only the banking stock is in the green. I think the banking sector has done more than 3% in the positive zone. You look at the oil and gas in the negative, the insurance index, the consumer index, everyone recording negative, so except for the banking index. So the result is the cause.
The results. So as we see more results coming in and perhaps impressive, the year-to-date loss will drop.
It should drop.
Should drop.
Because you take a look at the global markets. There are very few countries in the world that their stock markets are in the red. Very few. I think the last time I checked it was just Brazil. In Europe, in Asia, every stock market is doing well. Only Nigerian markets.
So what stocks should we look out for? What sector of the market should we look out for?
We expect the consumer sector. We expect Nigerian breweries, Guinness, they should start releasing their results. Investors should key into that, Nestle. And then you can't ignore the banking sector. The oil sector it should be the worst hit this year. I don't know. I think so. So maybe you should be careful of that sector.
If the oil market is not fully paid, or if there are other issues that could
There are so many issues in that sector. And of course, the crude price, and then the Naira devaluation, the recent scarcity caused by the differential. So a lot of issues with that sector. So banking sector, that's way to go.
All right, Ayo, I think we have to leave it at that. Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
Ayo Alidari is the head of special projects at Kari Assets Management Limited, and together we've assessed the market for the week just ended. We saw the all-share index up by 3.14%, higher than 2.54% in the preceding week. And of course, the bank earnings actually have contributed immensely to the growth and to the movement of the index. So we hope that these upward movement continues in the coming week. And as Ayo said, perhaps this is a time for you to take profits as an investor. And that will be it here on the Capital Market. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Coming up next on the international platform is Dateline Abuja, and on the terrestrial platform, please expect entertainment news. I am Bolaji Akiwali. Bye-bye.